here is what's happening in this morning's newspapers. We're going to kick off with the Irish Examiner. A smiling Shane Lowry leads the way here. Smiles and trials. It says here, writes John McHenry, Lowry sparkles, but McIlroy's hopes in tatters. And also that Cork's flying forwards rout Kerry in the Munster under-20 final. That's the Irish Examiner this morning.
I'm starting with the Irish Daily Star. Punch and Moody is the headline. Rory endures nightmare start, says Jeremy Cross at Portrush. And Robbo tells Pogba to ignore Iola. So he's been warned to stop listening to his agent and to focus on turning Manchester United into winners once again. That's Brian Robson, who's a club ambassador on their summer tour, saying that he's a great player. He should concentrate on that. He's contracted to Manchester United and he should concentrate on playing for United.
It's an interesting one, that with Raiola, because that seems to be the problem with a lot of the clubs that Pogba's played for, and certainly Man United. It was certainly a problem with Ferguson. It was a problem now. It seems to be at the club, doesn't it, that Raiola is perceived to be the problem when he's essentially doing his job.
The fans singing his name. Was it Juve the other day? It was like, oh, many Raiola. Here we go.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
That's
that's madness, isn't it? That is madness, isn't it? But there you go.
What have we got for us?
There you go, yeah. Joe McNally is adamant that the current side, the greatest ever, they're talking about the Dublin side in the race for 5 this year, so he's adamant that the current side will be the greatest football side in history if they go on to win the 5th All-Ireland in September.
He throws in that nonsense line that the great Kerry team wouldn't hold a candle to this current Dublin team, that they wouldn't stand a chance in a one-to-one game.
I should have marked that up there, yeah, but there you go.
The nonsense line.
It is a nonsense line. How can you expect a team from the 70s to match a team from the teens, any team?
But I think you're trying to, like, if you're indulging yourself in that nonsense argument, you obviously need to extend it out to say that it's a level playing field in that regard, right? Like, because it's a nonsense argument to begin with.
They said they wouldn't live with this team.
Yeah, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'll just give it a little Jack Byrne as well. Jack Byrne, great little picture of him. That was in Shamrock Rovers' 2-1 win over Brann last night as well, we mentioned earlier on.
Sorry, I just want to finish up on the Irish Daily Star, because the two most important stories here. First one, Conway ready to exit role. Paul Lennon, who had an exclusive yesterday about the full extent of the FAI's financial difficulties and the bailout that UEFA are giving them. It could be as much as 15 to 20 million euro. We'll know that over the next couple of years. He's reporting this morning, and it's reported elsewhere as well, actually, that Donald Conway is poised to signify his intention of stepping down as FAI president ahead of tomorrow's EGM. So there was a possibility, of course, that he would stay on, that he would oversee this for the next year. This does not mean that he's going away. He is potentially staying around, being part of the board for the next year during this transition phase. But as president, it looks like he's not going to hang on. He has also followed up the idea that Johnny and I were kind of floating yesterday, that should this AGM actually go ahead? And Lennon reckons that as soon as the AGM starts in a couple of weeks, what is it, Sunday week it's on? Or?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It's in Meath, isn't it?
Yeah, as soon as that starts, it's going to be shut down immediately. The first motion will be, we need to postpone this thing because the governance review group strategies just can't possibly have been implemented in time for the AGM. Total waste of time. And also we don't have the accounts. Also we don't have the Garda investigation. We don't have enough information to actually have an effective AGM. So he thinks it'll be shut down, but we will know soon what Conway's position will be, if he will have one. And then the other story on the back page of the Irish Daily Star is that Connolly must start for Dubs clash. So this is Kieran Donaghy and Paul Flynn letting their weight behind the idea of starting Diarmuid Connolly this weekend in Croke Park against Roscommon. I'd give Connolly a go, said Flynn. I'm hearing that he is ready and fit enough. He has come back into the fold. He has made a decision and has been accepted back. I'd expect Dublin to beat Roscommon, so you could let him kick 5 or 6 points. That would end the pressure and the questions about him, save Jim Gavin the hassle for the rest of the year. And then Kieran Donaghy says, I'd play Diarmuid Connolly. What's more, I think midfield is the spot for him.
Do you know what I think? Again, you listen to their lads, what those lads are saying is great. I'd definitely leave him on the bench and I'd bring him on in the game. And I think the reception that he'd get coming on would just lift everyone, and I think they'd actually take that on even into the next game. I think you'd get such a response with him coming onto the pitch that it would be incredible. When he starts, of course he'd get the reception, but you wouldn't get the same reception as him coming off the bench after 50, 60 minutes or whatever it would be. I think that would get much more of an impact on the team if that was to be the case.
There is the thing that's been spoken about, which is the likes of Bernard Brogan and other players who've been slogging it away and doing their thing, and suddenly here's Dermot Connolly rolling into town.
Tommy just reminded me of a very funny incident. It was the league final in 2017, I think, wasn't it? Or maybe it was a different game, or was it a Leinster game that summer when Eric Lowndes got brought on as a substitute for Dublin, and all the Dubs thought it was Dermot Connolly. And Lowndes got this massive reception, and then a couple of minutes later Connolly is actually the one that appears, and then he gets a massive reception again.
Right, the Irish Daily Mail, here's what's happening here this morning. He's got game. Is the reflections here on the golf. Lowry can take it to the final round, says McDowell, who's been reduced to a quote giver for other Irish players at the Open, which is an awful indictment of him, unfortunately, but it's a rough day for Rory as well, writes Philip Quinn there. And Donegal star suffers season-ending injury. This is bad news for Donegal and for Owen Bon Gallagher, who it seems has broken his ankle in training during the week and is out for the rest of the season. Massive blow for them.
It's bad news for the football championship in general, I think. Absolutely fantastic player, was absolute stud to get an all-star, I would have thought, and that really kind of lessens the excitement for Sunday as well. Back page of the Sun is devastated, but Lowry doesn't let nerves bite. For our radio listeners, there's an 8 slap bang in the middle of devastated. 8 at first hole, 8 over par. Sad Rory's devastated. So a step to go then, says Owen Cowser as well. He has that story on Donald Conway too. And thank few, Stephen Bradley hailed the Shamrock Rover side for bouncing back to keep the adventure alive.
Same again on Rory again here. I wanted to punch myself as a headline. I think it's just, I think when you see, listening to Rory there, that's in the indoor story as well, when you see Rory, you know, he's got to come out and he's got to, I saw his interview immediately on Sky when he's come off, and as I said to you, he kind of blew it in the last few holes because he chased it a bit too much, so he's blown it. And you wonder what he's thinking today when he's got to tee off. And it's almost as if there's no pressure on him to. You could see him shooting 63, 64 today.
There's maybe more pressure on him because he's like, I have to make the cut here. I wanted to punch myself. Must be in the running for tab of the morning.
Yeah, but I can see him playing today with no pressure. He's done that before. Where he's played with no pressure and he'll shoot an unbelievable score because, I mean, it depends weather-wise. See how the weather holds up, and if it is decent conditions, he quite easily see him shooting a low score today.
The Irish Times is golf as well here. Philip Reid is at Portrush for the Irish Times. Holmes weathers the conditions on a cantankerous all day on the Causeway Coast, and a shot of a very focused looking Shane Lowry with Big Phil looking on. And Tiger needs balm of treatment table rather than practice. This is poor old Tiger Woods, who's, it seems, struggling with the cold, is making the old injuries flare up on him a little bit. He says,
what did he shoot in the end, Tiger?
7 over.
7. I think he was 4 over when I'd went out yesterday.
Did you see that piece during the week, the Wall Street Journal piece on Tiger Woods' statistics when the weather is bad? So since 2017, Woods has averaged 6th place in tournaments when the temperature is over 23 degrees Celsius, which is 75 Fahrenheit. A 24th place finish when it is between 65 and 75 Fahrenheit, and a 46th place one when it is below 65 Fahrenheit. So it was obviously a good deal colder than that.
That could be.
I'm a fair weather player. Let's be honest.
That could be right. It could be anything. It could be to do with like his ball striking and the ball flight in warm conditions.
Definitely to do with the cold age.
It could also be absolute bollocks.
No, but you know, how can it be? No chance, because he's got a bad back, and I have a chronic back injury. If my back is in bits this morning just getting out of bed, and now if we had temperature at 25, 26 degrees today...
Would you not think about moving to somewhere like warmer climates? Move yourself over to California.
Yeah, but well...
ESPN.
Do you think?
Off the ball US.
Fox in California.
Listen. Yeah. See, he's done his bit of research on. He's one other story in the Irish Times that we wanted to get to before.
Got a Skype call into Off the Ball.
Well, listen, we'll see what we can put together for you. One other story from the Irish Times that we wanted to bring your way here. Meads can take some heart from history with Mayo. This is Sean Bourne has written a lengthy piece about the history between these two counties, which Tommy is smiling.
Mayo have a history between every county, so you could list off another 10, 15 other counties, and Mayo have history there, don't they? So
yeah. It's not a huge amount of recent history was the main thing I took from that article. Tommy, is that what you were trying to point out? I don't know. He's grinning away there like a Cheshire cat, like as if there's some. It reflects amazingly on Meath, I presume. Yeah.
The Racing Post this morning goes with dangerous moment for racing, says ex-Sky Bet chief and Kerr to appoint caretaker manager next week. The back page then of the Racing Post is open and closed. Pre-tournament favourite McIlroy out to 400 to 1 after a horror first round.
Couple of euros on that, would you?
5 to 1 to make the cut.
Absolutely no chance.
5 to 1 to make the cut.
Yeah. It'll give you a good day's viewing, I guess.
I wouldn't back that. I wouldn't be touching that. No chance.
Well, he'd want the conditions to be absolutely horrific.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't tee off till 3:10.
Horrific in the morning. Decent. He wants decent weather the afternoon, doesn't he?
We all look like mugs when he goes out and shoots a good score.
He can have a shot.
Easily makes the cut.
I can't see it.
Not me.
I can't see it.
I'm just giving the odds.
I ain't that mug.
I think this is your one as well. This is your headline that you love as well. iPhone 8. Rory hits fan on the way.
You were so bad for Adrian, that's the headline you were
Yeah, that is right up your street as well, on his horror 8 at the first toll at Royal Portrush. The one thing as well we've maybe not touched on yet as well was the Daniel Sturridge has been hit with with many saying too lenient 75k gambling fine.
The FA wanted banned for 6 months.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, this is a historic one, isn't it, for him as well, or certainly over the last few years. This has been going on for a while when he got done, but now it's just come about, 75k gambling fine for him. So, is it too lenient? I don't know. I mean, they set a precedent by that. I mean, that's probably a week's wages to not even a week's wages.
He was going on loan to, it seemed like Seville at the time, told his brother and his uncle, I think, to get exactly on it. Yeah. And listen, if you lose out, I'll pay you back.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, I know it's not the biggest part of the story at all, but it just goes to show how a player is so uninvolved with transfers sometimes.
Yeah.
That really, if you want to move somewhere, it's not all up to you at all. The clubs, the agents, whoever it may be, may scupper it. Granted, that is not the big part of the story.
Do you know
That's just one of the things that I took from it.
I'll take their own.
I understand that's maybe a bit too close to bone, but the amount of times you're chatting to people, like, so if we had anyone in here now today, if we got, say, who's out of contract, Glenn Whelan. If we had Glenn Whelan in the studio here today now, we'd be asking him any news, whatever it would be. We'd be asking him off, and if, you know, word gets around very quickly on these sort of things, don't they? Someone has, I mean, it's not right, but, and he's probably saying it's too close with it being his dad and his brother, but that sort of thing does happen, though. That happens.
Regardless of, this is also not the most important part of the story, but like, regardless of what your thoughts on it are, he's given it to one of his male relations, whose surname, I'm assuming, is the same as his.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Are they not?
In one of the occasions, no, it's not a Sturridge.
Right. So one it was and one it wasn't.
I think so, yeah.
Well, it's maybe not the most
smart
thing in the world.
There you go.
Anyway.
And that's the one, again, Robbo tells Pogba just to focus on United, what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, there was a Leon Sturridge who was involved for sure. So
look at this grand that has come in for Daniel Sturridge to go to Seville. Oh.
Yeah.
It's from Leon Sturridge.
Yeah, but you know that as well. The bookies immediately are alerted any sort of bet on that type of market over 50 quid. They're alerted straight away to that, aren't they? They would know full well what could be happening there.
The back page of The Guardian this morning goes with McIlroy's nightmare. Disastrous first round 79 leaves open dream in tatters. You've got that Sturridge ban as well, and a bit of the netball too. Simon Yates then seals breakaway victory at Tour de France, which is hotting up at the moment. And the Daily Telegraph goes with McIlroy misery. Home favourite starts with nightmare 79 at Royal Portrush. Woods also feels the pain as doubts resurface over future.
Just one, can I just, obviously everything's dominated by Rory McIlroy, but this is the Times, this is the London Times here today, but there's one on Stan Collymore. Sol Campbell and Stan Collymore have been offered roles, were approached, in paid roles to be critics of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. So
what does that mean?
Well, what it is, there's a war going on over there, between the Gulf states. So one particular Gulf state, which I think is Abu Dhabi. I think I might be correct on that one anyway, because it's not in this first little bit here. But they've been employed, or they've been approached to be employed to be critical of the Qatar World Cup by a different Gulf state. So yeah, I
mean, there's plenty of reasons to be. I'm surprised that you would be required to be paid to fulfil that role, because there's plenty of reasons to be critical.
Well, I guess the thing is who's actually paying them is the story here, and whether or not they should be taking that money.
A couple of some other stories to bring away before we wrap up on the sports pages. Firstly, from the Irish News, we're going to take the front page here. Tyrone team bus singers cleared. This was obviously that high-profile story of the Tyrone players singing a rebel song on the bus in the last few weeks. And then on the back page of the same paper, it's Gov all the way, and also that news about, very unfortunate news about Owen Bon Gallagher. That's the Irish News this morning. Gaelic Life, meanwhile, Kingdom Come. This is David Clifford. David Clifford's Kerry. Can we officially...
That's his team. It's his team.
Lovely to watch at the weekend. Brilliant to watch. There, up close as well. What a love. I even liked him. Saw him
through the tears.
Properly the first day. It was the tears, but even in the league final, when I'd seen him I'd seen him a couple of times up close, but first time I saw him was the league final, and even though Kerry lost that, he was brilliant to watch. His movement is great to watch. And at the weekend, geez, what a player! What a player!
I think that is. Have we a couple of other red tops to bring away just before we wrap up? This is some of the English papers. The Mir iPhone 8 that Kev mentioned just there a little while ago.
Is that the headline of the morning?
I'm giving it. I wanted to punch myself in the face just because. I mean, I know it's a direct quote, not strictly within the terms and conditions of Tab of the Morning, but it's an excellent quote.
Yeah, that's the interesting one there. Certainly on the storage storm we talked about earlier, because if the FA, or if there's a bit of a backlash against that, you might see that ban extending. You could see that if they get any sort of maybe people on board trying to extend that ban for him or try to give him a ban. That's an interesting one. Maybe looking at that going forward.
Yeah. All right, that's where we're going to leave the newspapers for you this morning. It is coming up on 8 on this Friday morning.